Thanks for listening to the Tech Tools for Teachers podcast, where each week we talk about a free piece or two of technology that you could use in your classroom. I'm your host, Shanna Martin. I'm a middle school teacher, technology coach, and personalized learning coordinator for my district.
And I'm her producer and husband, Fuzz Martin.
And it's episode 21.
21.
It's kind of fun. Like, we're beyond 20 at this point.
I know. We get to 26 and we got like a full season in.
Ooh.
Like most shows, you know, like when they do shows on TV, they'll get like a 26 episode, either like 13 or 26 episodes.
Right. Unless it's like Game 26. of Thrones and you have like 6. Is it only 6
this season?
6 this season.
Oh, so there's 2 left.
So then it would be like us doing like 20.
As the time you're listening to this, there's only 1 episode left.
Ooh.
But we're recording this before that so we can watch it.
On that note, let's talk about what we're actually talking about today.
Yeah, hit it.
We're talking about all kinds of cool things to learn in 3D.
3D.
It's like our 3D theme today. Yeah. We're going to have a guest today.
A guest on this show?
So excited.
After only 20 episodes?
I know, that's kind of sad. But anyway, I'm excited. It's one of my coworkers.
We've got the setup all set up so that now we can do more of these.
Yeah, so if other people want to like come hang out with us
if you
virtually,
have a piece of free technology that you can use in your classroom and it's free and you would like to chat with us on the show,
you can join us.
And you can join us.
Yeah.
Shoot Shanna a message, a DM. Hit her up in the DMs on Twitter or message her on Facebook.
Or send an email to
Tech
Tools for Teachers podcast at gmail.com.
The longest email address ever at gmail.com.
Yes. Anyway, but yeah, so our theme is like 3D things, like teaching your students in 3D and cool online software and stuff. So we're going to talk about Inventor. We're going to talk about Thingiverse. And we're going to talk about Tinkercad. So today, one of our guests is Blake Bogenhagen. I'm super excited. He's our first guest on our show. Tiddy! He is one of my coworkers, and he is a science teacher at our school. And Blake, why don't you talk a little bit about yourself? Introduce yourself to our wide variety of listeners that we have.
All right. Well, hey, I'm excited to be here. I've been listening to your podcast since it started. And I think since episode 1, I've been on your case about getting guest speakers, and I wanted to be one of your guest speakers on here. So I'm excited to be here. Yeah, right?
Woohoo!
So I've been working in education for 11 years now, and I've been teaching middle school science, among a variety of other things. And I think, Shanna, you and I started teaching and working together about 3 years ago. Yeah. And yeah, I guess that kind of wraps up
where
we came from and where we got to.
So today we're going to talk about 2 of your kind of go-to or websites you use a lot in your classroom. The first one we're going to talk about is Inventor, right? So what do you love about Inventor? What do you use it for? What are some of those favorite things that you have about Inventor?
Well, I think one of the best things about Inventor, as it goes right along with the name of your podcast, is it's a free tool for education.
Free.
Perfect.
Right? When there's a price tag of like $2,000 on a software application, and we get to use it free in education, we like to take advantage of that.
Yeah. So what are some of those like highlights? Because Inventor, it's used in like real world situations quite a bit. So how are the kids using it kind of in your classroom?
Yeah, so I got introduced to Inventor a number of years ago. I want to say like 4 or 5 years ago. Got introduced to Inventor, and it totally caught my attention because when I was in high school, we were using AutoCAD software, and I went to college thinking I was going to college and a future in architecture. So I did that for a few years in college. So then when I switched over to education, this just kind of brings it all right back around to something that I love to do, and being able to teach it with kids is pretty amazing, especially middle school age kids. There might be a lot of people that think that middle school kids aren't able to handle and work with this software, but they absolutely totally can. And there are more kids every year that push me on everything I need to know. Okay,
Cool.
they keep asking questions like, how do you do this? How do you do this? I'm like, well, I don't know now, but we're going to find out together in the next week.
Awesome. So why don't you walk us through a little bit, like getting started? Like if we want to like say, hey, I want to get my kids, I'm going to download it to a couple computers in my classroom. Like where do I get myself started with getting kids kind of going in Inventor in your classroom?
Sure. So I can talk a little bit about how to get Inventor on computers in your classroom, and even students at home can download this, because if a student has a school ID, they are able to go in and access it and download it to their home computer.
Nice.
Or doing it at school, I can put it on computers in my classroom. We just have to have a school user ID for a school email.
Cool.
Yeah.
And we looked into, you can put it on a Mac as well, because I know some districts, like if they have Macs, you can put it on a Mac, but it has to have a Windows
emulator
partition.
Yeah.
Something.
Yeah. So you have to partition your computer to have a Windows operating system segment on there. So it's kind of a dual boot kind of setup, which is it's not hard, but it's also kind of a little bit of an extra step. So you'll have to check with your IT department if you're running Mac on that side and you want to do that. They'll have to help you get set up with that. Before we go any further, though, as a guy who's an outsider looking in, we really haven't talked about what Inventor does. So what really is Inventor? I know I've heard you talk about it before, but and it sounds like it's some sort of AutoCAD type of software, but talk about a little bit about what it is specifically.
Yeah, so when I talk to kids, when I tell them what AutoCAD is, real quick, it's a 3D design software. But it is anything. I tell the kids, they're like when they want to go and print their papers and print stuff they've been working on the computer, everything is printed off in obviously a 2D. It's just printed on a flat sheet of paper. I tell the kids that when we're working in this, anything you create in here, anything out of your mind, any toys or games or projects that you make in AutoCAD software, we're lucky enough in the school that we have 3D printers. Right. Where they're able to print in 3D, because a lot of students think you can just like find a picture of something online and hit print to a 3D printer and it's going to print out. Well, the stuff they're finding online is a 2D image.
Sure.
It's not going to print 3D. They print it on paper. So this software, if they're able to control it and work it, they are able to print out the 3D image. They can make their phone cases, their phone stands, their toys. So it is a 3D rendering imaging software, a modeling software where they can print out their 3D models. Not that you have to have a 3D printer to use this
like do stuff,
software.
right?
Yeah.
And well, it makes pretty cool. Like they can design images and stuff with Inventor, that even if they're not going to do a 3D print on it, you can like put it into color and you could just print it on a piece of paper and they can have a 3D like type rendering of the thing if they don't have a 3D printer.
Sure.
But yeah, it's kind of a way for kids to design and make models and create in 3D and learn about the Cartesian coordinate system.
Ooh.
Math.
Cartesian.
And in 3D, it's like the best. I learned it and now I use it whenever I can talk about it. But yeah, so that way kids can do it. So if they're going to log in and they're going to have Inventor on their computers, like what are some of the first steps that they go through to get set up? Because I know like some kids want to have something created right away. So like how do you get them started on actually making like their phone case or one of the projects that they do in your class?
Sure. Well, I guess the first thing we got to talk about is how to get it on your computer. And that is... it's been a while since I have done it, but it was a simple process. You're literally just going to autodesk.com/education.
Yep. And we have the links that we're going to put directly on the website, so you can go right to them.
That makes it even easier then. Yeah, yep. So you're basically just going there and starting and creating an account and getting logged in, and then you're just downloading the software. And if you're using your school ID or your school email, you get free product. What do they call it? Was it a product key? A product?
Okay, like a code kind of thing.
Yeah, code that you put in, and then you get free access to it.
Cool.
So our school, we have to have, my goodness, we've got to have over 50 computers that is able to put this on. So I talked to our IT guy the other day, and he said, yeah, it was no hassle to put this all on a bunch of computers.
Great.
So our IT guy had no problem putting on a bunch of computers. I've had no problem putting on computers in my classroom, and I have students every year that at home put it on their computers. And
so I can work at home.
I always tell them, like check with your parents, make sure it's all good that you're putting this on there.
Right.
I'm not a huge software guy, but from what I know, this is kind of a more bulky software, a 3D modeling software program. It's a little bit bigger. So I definitely talk to your parents before you start putting this on your home computer.
So this is not something you guys are using on Chromebooks or anything like that, right? This is only on Windows computers?
Yes.
Or Macs running the emulator? Sure. Okay.
Right. Yeah. So what are some of the projects you've done with your kids in your classroom?
So right now we're at a state, every year I have different projects going on. Right now, one of the projects that all of our students do in the Meyer is one of our first projects is I just teach them some very, very simple moves on AutoCAD about how to create two-dimensional shapes. So to work in AutoCAD, you make a two-dimensional shape. I have them make a square, 2 dimensions, and then you click on it and tell it you want to extrude it into the third dimension, and then you take that square and you extrude it up, and lo and behold, you have a cube. Very simple to do, right? And then it's all about just adding or subtracting from there. So we do a very quick, simple thing we call a plane cube. We basically make a cube, and we have knobs sticking out of it, and we drill holes into it and have different shapes coming out of it. And once I get that simple program down, then the next step we do is right now we're making marble mazes, which the kids are liking, because we have a few 3D printers at school, so we are able to turn some of these projects into real objects that they print out.
Right. So they've done marble mazes, and then I think, don't you help out with some of the elementary kids? Do you have like a project that you work out with the elementary?
Yeah, so that's how we got to the marble maze. So one of our elementary teachers runs a thing called the Good Stuff store in our school, where they sell, pencils and small books and small toys and just a bunch of different small things that the elementary kids can come buy for $0.25 and $1, $1.50. They buy this different stuff. So we have our middle school kids design 3D marble mazes, and that's the first thing that they print off. And then we sell those products in the Good Stuff store, and we donate all the proceeds back to the Good Stuff store. They can continue to buy new things. And once the kids make their 3D marble mazes, they go on. We've had kids make like paper foot. A cool thing was a paper football, a field goal post that they sold. I'm not sure if all the elementary teachers loved it as much as I did. All the elementary kids playing paper football with a field goal post. They've made skateboards and trucks and keychains and pencil toppers and locker magnets. So they printed off like locker organizers and glued magnets to the back, and the elementary kids were able to put them in their lockers. So
they went through like the whole design process, right? So like they learned like the engineering design process where they went through and they like designed something, and then the little kids, didn't they like give their feedback and then they had to go back and re-edit and stuff their designs?
Yeah,
something along those lines.
Yeah, that's definitely one thing we really work on with the middle school kids. So, step one is kind of just figuring out how to use Inventor. And once you learn how to make a 2D shape and extrude it into the third dimension, then it's kind of game on. They can kind of run with it, and I take them so far, but when they start making a lot of their own stuff, it's time to just hit YouTube. There is YouTube videos out there for Inventor for everything. So they get an idea in their head of what they want to do, and we totally run through the design process. They have the 6 steps of the design process that we teach them at school, where they're coming up with a project, a design problem they're trying to do. So if they're working for stuff in the Good Stuff store, they're asking themselves like, okay, what's a problem? What does an elementary kid need? So they might think, like a locker organizer. So they'll
go post for football.
Right. They've come up with their problem. They run through and generate different concepts. They come up with ideas. They develop a solution. They might design 3 or 4 or 5 different locker organizers. And that's the time when we kind of take a pause and we have our middle school kids meet with our elementary kids. And we kind of group them up and say, hey, here's the 4 designs I've come up with. What do you guys think What do you elementary kids think of what one you like best? So they might say, oh, we like, that one, and they start to marry them together and get different ideas.
Very cool.
So, yeah, it was a good way to get our elementary and middle school kids working together on projects, and then they were able to sit down and kind of hash it out of what they wanted.
All right. Well, what do you think what are some of the benefits that kids are getting from using Inventor? Like, what can they take away from it?
I think two big things they take away from is the design process. We're running through the design process that we press pretty big in middle school, especially through the science, the design process. And then also the skills of just learning a 3D modeling software is, in my opinion, huge for kids as they go into high school and beyond, whether you're going into the workforce or to a 2-year, 4-year college. There are a lot of businesses using 3D modeling software, and the conversations that we've had through schools and our partnerships with businesses is either they are using this exact software that they're having their employees work, or okay, we don't use Inventor, but we're using something else.
Right.
And skills are very, very much crossover between the different platforms. If you can use one 3D software, your learning curve on the next one is a lot less.
Yeah, absolutely. So from our side, I'm at an ad agency, and a lot of times we've got manufacturer clients who will send us things like the CAD files for their mower deck, and we'll have our animators who will work in this kind of software to then colorize it and animate it, usually using Cinema 4D to then turn into a video. So if we're making product videos and things like that, but the fundamentals start with software like this, so they know how to manipulate it and what it looks like, and how to break down to the different levels, and then breaking that out and skinning it and getting it out into a format that they can use to turn into an animation is pretty key. So not just from it goes along obviously manufacturing and design, industrial design, but then also even on the video and animation side, we're using that as well. So it's great skill if you can get that. If you can get somebody in on the ground floor on that, it's huge. So
huge.
Huge.
Well, and with that, so along with Inventor Day, our second website of fantasticness today is Thingiverse. But is it thing of? It's not Thingiverse, it's Thingiverse, like Thingiverse.
I always tell the kids, like the letter I, Thingiverse.
Thingiverse, but it's not like Thingiverse is how, anyway.
Say Thingiverse.
Thingiverse. So, Blake, tell us about Thingiverse and how you use it along with then Inventor and with the 3D printers too, actually.
Okay, so yeah, we teach middle school students. So when they find out about Thingiverse, they are all about it. A lot of kids will want to skip the step of, I got to spend the next week, designing my
Inventor,
own cool thing and working through this, and I can just go to Inventor and print something else that's really cool. So Thingiverse is a website where people have already dropped off what they've created, and you can go in and just search for it. And there are, I'm even struggling. Yeah, I'm even struggling to think of things that we have not been able to find in Thingiverse. Yeah,
we found lions for school stuff.
Right, I don't know. Everything from like there's a teaspoon measuring cup up to an articulated dragon. They're just wildly diverse and everything you could think of.
And are you able to manipulate the files in Thingiverse, or are they just pretty straightforward?
So there's the big thing. All the 3D files in Thingiverse, we are able to grab them, download them, print them off. Students want this, they hate to drop any name, but like Fortnite keychain or something like this. They can go in and go and print it off right away. And if you know anything about the 3D printer, it takes a little bit to print, but 6 or 4 hours later, they're able to have their print, whatever they're working on.
You can have cute little robots.
Printed. I'm just looking at the homepage right now. There's
robots.
There's a bear here. There's a dragon. I don't even know what half of these
there's some really cool headphone holders, little alien headphone holders.
Yeah, we get some students print those off. Those are awesome. Yep.
Great Mother's Day presents.
What else? Because there is some sort of a mod that students are printing for their either Xbox or PlayStation controllers that get strapped and screwed right to the controller, and they're able to use it in a better way. I'm not really sure what it does, but I had some students print that off a while ago.
Right. Nice.
Right. So they love Thingiverse. That's a great one. Now, can you control and edit anything that you get off of Thingiverse? I've had some students be successful with that, but they have totally tackled that challenge on their own. That is not something that I've been able to walk them through or help them with.
Because they are designed, like they're uploaded, but they're other people's designs, so you have to be wary of that. But.
So most of the stuff you get off of Thingiverse is called an STL file. Mm-hmm. And in order to be used in Inventor has its own files. If you want to be able to control something in Inventor, it has to be like an IPT file, an Inventor part file, or an IAM, an Inventor assembly file. Mm-hmm. So when they download these STLs, they have to go through a lot of different steps and bring it into another free program called Mesh Mixer that we won't get into too much because I don't know a whole lot about it. Mm-hmm. But I've had some kids get into Mesh Mixer and be able to download this program and bring in those 3D files and manipulate them a little bit. They were able to put their names on it, change the sizes if they needed to. So it is possible. My middle school students, 12-year-old, they've been able to figure some of this out. So it is definitely possible. They've impressed me with their skills.
So I have another site that we use that you can feel free to use. There is a site called Turbo Squid. Are you familiar?
I'm not. No.
Okay.
All right. I'm writing it down right now.
Yeah. So if you go to Turbo, so just type in Turbo Squid, for like squid, like the sea animal, free, and there are a bunch of 3D models that you can get free off Turbo Squid. Like I'm looking at a Lamborghini Countach. They've got people that you can manipulate. They've got Tyrannosaurus Rex. There are 20,000 free 3D models that you can download. A lot of them, it shows their file formats. A lot of them are STL or Cinema 4D files or 3ds or Object. But you can get crafty and convert those to the Inventor file that you're going to need.
Look at that. Yeah. Everything's in 3D. What?
Yeah, so Turbo Squid. It's we use that a lot. Now, like you can buy, like we'll buy, let's say we need a semi-truck model for a client that we're working on. We'll go in there and buy royalty-free models that we can manipulate. But this free side is all completely free that you can use. So, and there may even be some education stuff. I haven't dug into it enough, but
cool.
Check it out.
Look at that. All the things.
Turbo Squid free. I think you just took up another day in the middle school life of kids.
There you go. You're welcome.
Hooray!
You're getting to the end of the year. Fill some
you know how
time.
much stuff we have to do at the end of the year?
Right?
I do.
All the kids are gonna be like, I want to print this shark out right now.
All right, so think about this more. Maybe don't introduce it to the class now. Maybe
it'll be summer work.
Yeah, maybe next November or somewhere around there.
Or we'll just give it to them. They can all download it and work on it over the summer, and then come back and we'll have high expectations for these kids next year.
Yeah, that's right.
There you go.
Yeah,
cool.
I have been more than impressed at what middle school kids can pull out of this Inventor software, because there's a ton of other softwares that, in my opinion, are easier to use, and middle school is kind of switching to. But I've seen middle schoolers use Inventor, and they can absolutely use it. And there are 1.5 billion YouTube videos out there to help them with any problem that they're going to come up with.
Well, they kind of rise to the challenge then, instead of
totally.
just like you know, they problem solve and they get frustrated and they work through it, you know, just kind of like just have the expectations for it, man.
Yeah, and I've had some students that I've known that needed to start at different levels. So there's other ones that are all kind of under this Autodesk, AutoCAD universe. So one of them is like 123D. I've had students start on, and that's a little bit simpler, just kind of working with three-dimensional shapes. And once they get the idea of what an online or a software three-dimensional program is, they've been able to jump in Inventor, and I haven't had a student yet that hasn't been able to figure it out and use it.
Awesome.
Yeah. These are all great. This is awesome. And we really appreciate you coming on the show today, Blake. And thanks for taking some time out of your weekend to join us.
Absolutely.
Thanks for being our first official guest ever.
Yeah, that's right. I'm the honored first guest.
You're gonna have to retweet this episode though. So just so you know.
Absolutely. Yeah, I've been wanting this guest spot since week 1. So thanks for having me.
Thanks, Blake. We'll talk to you later.
All right, sounds good. See you later, guys.
So next we're going to talk about Tinkercad. I know Blake talked a lot about Inventor and how sometimes people think Inventor is a little difficult, but middle schoolers can handle it. Well, Tinkercad is the simplified version, kind of what Inventor would be. And it's meant, and I know a lot of people that use it in middle school, but I think younger kids, you can start them young. Like
is this like an online version?
Yes. Okay. Tinkercad is all online. It's really easy to use. What's nice about Tinkercad is it gives you on the left-hand side of the screen, so you log in, you get your sign in, you know, the usual, get yourself an account. On the left-hand side, it walks you through like step 1 and it teaches it to you. And then once you've kind of mastered it, like little fireworks and stars shoot around your screen like, yay, you mastered the first task. So
that's cool.
It's really meant, I think, for younger kids to get them exposed to 3D design at a younger age.
Right.
And it's very colorful and it's very user friendly. So I think if like 2nd, 3rd grade, you want to start exposing kids to 3D design, Tinkercad is a great place to start. It is all online. It's the kids can just create an account and you're able to download your design once you make it, and you can also set it up for 3D printing.
Okay.
So you can 3D print what you create in Tinkercad just like you could Inventor. It's just like a simpler version, I think, of being able to use it.
So you can't use all the models that we talked about with Blake though, right? You got to use some of the shapes they have, or
you can
as far
import
as you know?
files.
Oh, you can.
You can import, like drag and drop, and you can import files, like from a URL or 2D, 3D file. You can do that. I think that it's just there's not as many tools in Tinkercad as there is in Inventor.
Okay.
Inventor, like we talked about before, like all the extruding and all that kinds of. You can do that in Tinker. It's just everything's just a little bit simpler.
So it's just more robust than I mean. The other ones are more robust. This
Correct.
is more
like Inventor is used more like in the workforce, or if you're going to be, you know, using it, it's very similar to it, almost the exact same software as you would in the work world.
Right.
Versus Tinkercad is meant more for education and meant for teaching basics of 3D design.
Well, maybe before you start getting your kids into Inventor and stuff, maybe this is the way to go to get them familiar with the Cartesian
coordinate system.
Oh
my gosh, I'm so excited. If you've never done the Cartesian coordinate system, use your thumb. It's XYZ axis, 3D axis, and you can use it with your fingers, or your thumb, your pointer, and your middle finger, and it makes the Cartesian coordinate system, and that's how you teach the kids. But you could actually design.
It almost looks vulgar if you're no.
But if you're doing it right. But if you have the Cartesian coordinate system, if in Inventor you can create, they have like little like measurements or a little like Cartesian coordinate system 3D model that you can then print on your 3D printer, and then you have the measurement of how to do the Cartesian coordinate system that you have designed in Inventor and then 3D printed in 3D.
Whoa! And as a teacher who teaches multi-axis robots.
Correct. That's why I never said that before, but the reason why I know what the Cartesian coordinate system is, or why I had to become familiar with it as a non-math teacher, is that all of everything that I teach on robots in RoboGuide is in the Cartesian coordinate system. So
we've talked about your FANUC robot background before.
A little bit, yes.
Yeah. Well, we'll talk about it more on another episode.
We will. Sometime we'll talk about it. But yes, so I became mathy, and then I then created 3D printed versions of them. All right, cool.
Cool.
Well, on that note, thanks for joining us for 3D Week.
3D Week.
3D Week.
Thanks again to Blake.
Awesome. Yes, thanks, Blake, for joining us. It was so much fun. Thanks for tuning in. This has been the Tech Tools for Teachers podcast. If you ever have any questions, you can find me on Twitter at SmartNWI. And if you want to get more information on the links and the technology discussed on today's episode, you can visit smartnwi.com. You can always email me at techtoolsforteacherspodcast@gmail.com. New episodes each week. Thanks for listening. Go educate and innovate.
All the ideas and opinions we've expressed in this podcast and the smartnwi.com website are those of the author, Shanna Martin, and not of her employer. Prior to using any of the technologies discussed here, please consult with your employer regulations. This podcast offers no guarantee that these tools will work for you as described, but as always, that's the only reason we're doing this show. Thanks for listening. See you soon.